Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice for Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a very important question. Where's Marnie? You see, ladies and gentlemen, Marnie's gone missing. Over in Shiny Star V, which was, of course, the Japanese equivalent of Shiny Fates, they had a full art Marnie card, a very nice full art Marnie card, and not to put too fine a point on it, but yeah, Charizard from this set over in Japan is actually selling for less than Marnie. Marnie is actually a more popular, sought after, expensive card than we see from Charizard, which is a little bit nutty, right? But that's how much people love Marnie. The thing is, when we got our version of this, which was of course Shining Fates, there was no Marnie. There's no Marnie in Shining Fates. So, is this going to be relevant? Quite possibly. And where is it actually going to end up coming? Well, essentially here, we've got two options. Option number one, it gets put into a future set. Option number two, we end up getting it in some kind of special box somewhere along the lines. Now, in terms of putting it in another set, this wouldn't be without precedent. Don't forget that Charizard V, the shiny that came in Champion's Path, should have been in Shining Fates, because it was in Shiny Star V in Japan. So it should have been in Shining Fates, but it was taken out of there to be put into Champion's Path. So the Champion's Path was basically a better set with better cards and all of that. The issue is that if we look at, say, Alchemy, we actually took the full art and the Rainbow Rare Alchemy out of Champion's Path and put them in Shining Fates. We literally took the cards out of Champion's Path to put them in Shining Fates, while at the same time taking the Charizard out of Shining Fates and putting it into Champion's Path. It's a little bit weird, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit weird. But sometimes Pokemon will move cards around, and essentially it seems to be to try and make the sets quite sought after. Because if you put Charizard into Champion's Path, what you end up with is essentially a double Charizard set. You've got the Rainbow Rare V Max, and you've got the Shiny Pokemon V. And there are a bunch of people that think that the only good cards in Champion's Path were those two Charizard, and it's not worth buying otherwise. There were a few others, but it was a weaker set overall. That's generally agreed upon. But what you essentially do by putting two Charizards into Champion's Path is you make it the double Charizard set, and people go, well, I'm going to buy it because I want one of those Charizards. Whereas Shining Fates is a really popular set, because it's got all the shiny cards, and it's got things like Full Art Skylar, for instance. It is a very, very popular set. So you don't need double Charizard in Shining Fates. Shining Fates is already a great card, so you take one of the Charizards out, you make Champion's Path the double Charizard set, because it's really not controversial to say that Shining Fates is a better set than Champion's Path, but you still leave one Charizard in, so there's still a Charizard in the set. And then you end up with a really good set and a less good set, but one people are still going to want. I'm going to be honest with you, I really don't understand why they would move Full Art and Rainbow Rare Alchemy from Champion's Path into Shining Fates. You've already got regular Alchemy in Champion's Path. It's not like you're moving the entire Pokemon over. You're still releasing Alchemy V Max and Alchemy V in Champion's Path, but you're moving the Full Art of the V and the Rainbow Rare of the V Max. It is Full Art of the V, Rainbow Rare of the V Max. It's not both V Max. Moving them into Shining Fates, which is already a set which people are going nuts over. I don't really understand that. They would have been better, and this is just my opinion, and I don't run the game, obviously, but it seems like they would have been better served staying in Champion's Path to give a few more shiny cards over there. It's a little bit weird. But the point is, they have moved cards between them, and they've taken Full Art Marnie out of Shining Fates. And I think the theory here is very similar. They've basically gone, why would we need to? Like Shiny Fates has got the Charizard, it's got the Full Art Skylar, it's got all the shiny Pokemon. Why are we leaving this Full Art Marnie, which is a hyper popular card? Why are we leaving it in there? Why don't we move it into, and this is my prediction incidentally, why don't we move it into Battle Styles? Now, Battle Styles is a cool set. It is one which for players is going to shake things up. It is a wonderful set full of what looks like really good cards. It's bringing in Urshifu for the first time, but it's also bringing in single and rapid strike Pokemon, including, of course, single strike and rapid strike Urshifu. And there are some really cool cards in there. The alternate art Empoleon, for instance, looks like a really, really cool card indeed. And the reprint of Level Ball is something that players are going to go nutty for. And we do have the full art Korrina's Motivation or Determination, one of the two, which is probably going to end up being a really popular card. And, maybe Rainbow Rare Victini V Max. But we don't have the money Pokemon in the set. There's no special Charizard. There's no special Pikachu. We don't have a card like that. If they put Full Art Marnie into Battle Styles, which incidentally is exactly what I think they're going to do, then all of a sudden that becomes the most valuable, most sought after card in the set. That's what everybody's looking to pull. And I think that happens incidentally like overnight. I think it's an instant thing of Full Art Marnie ends up in Battle Styles. That is the money card, the best card from the set. Because Shining Fates already has Full Art Skylar. It already has the Shiny Charizard V Max. Doesn't need Marnie as well. And that's my prediction. That's what I think is happening. I don't know this for a fact. It might be pushed into a different set. But, we had Vivid Voltage, which had your Rainbow Rare Pikachu, which was the card that absolutely everybody wanted. We've had the Charizard and stuff from Shining Fates and Champion's Path, like I've told you about. But there's nothing in Battle Styles at the moment which is on the same level as those cards. And look, I've made no secret of this. I know that the main target market of Pokemon is younger people. It's kids. It's people buying the odd packs here and there in supermarkets, getting them for their birthdays, etc. Pokemon don't really cater to collectors and players as much as they cater to the people who are buying the majority of the cards. But it's very, very little effort to move a potentially money card for collectors into a different set, which all of a sudden makes one set which wasn't that appealing to collectors far more appealing. You're not hurting your core target market by doing that. All you're doing is basically making a very small change to the card list to make the set more appealing to a different audience, which makes sense to me. Now, in terms of moving it into its own box, I'm not buying that. We see it with Pokemon all the time. Look at Blastoise V Max. Blastoise V Max is being taken and putting into a special Blastoise V Max box. It's a very cool box. It's one that I think a bunch of people are going to want. They do that with Pokemon all the time. They don't do it with supporters. If anyone's wondering why they don't do it with supporters, again, think about the core target market. If some kid is walking around in a supermarket and they see a Blastoise V Max box, that looks really cool. I love Blastoise. Let's do this. Look at Galarian Rapidash V. It was announced that that's getting its own box. Do we really need to explain why Galarian Rapidash ended up getting its own box? There are certain segments of the market that are going to look at that on the shelf and it is going to immediately appeal, far more than many other Pokemon would. Making these boxes with supporters, kids aren't going to be as into it, and they're your main target market, which means that getting one of these style of boxes with a supporter card in really doesn't make much sense because it's not appealing to your core audience, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. Now, could we get a super premium set designed for collectors? Yes, it has happened before. The Premium XY collection came with full art of a bunch of supporters, including N, Team Flare, Grunt, etc. It was a really cool set. But that was a very different kind of pack. What that pack did was it turned around and went, right, we've got a bunch of full arts from the X and Y block that we haven't released yet. We have moved into the Sun and Moon block. We cannot put these old X and Y cards in Sun and Moon sets. We just can't. It makes no sense. It would look weird. It would be confusing. People wouldn't like it. So what we do instead here is we go, okay, let's move and do this different set. Let's collect all of them in this different set. And that was basically the end of the X and Y block. But we're not missing a bunch of... Actually, to be fair, we are missing a bunch of Sun and Moon full arts. But we aren't missing a bunch of Sword and Shield full arts. And we are about 1/3 of the way through the block. So I don't buy this at all. I really do think it's just going to be pushed into a future set. Now, the other thing is, what if it is pushed into a future set? Because generally speaking, when cards are released in future sets, they don't have an alternate art. They get a new set number. Take Lily, for instance. Lily was originally printed in Sun and Moon, and then Lily was printed again in Ultra Prism. And that was really, really important because Sun and Moon rotated long before Ultra Prism. Not like a year before, but the point is it rotated before. So the print of Lily in Ultra Prism kept it in the format for an extra year. If Marnie gets reprinted in Battle Styles or later, and gets reprinted in a proper main set, it is very, very likely, not guaranteed, but it is very likely that we will see Marnie coming along with a new set number in the new set. And when we rotate in August, September 2022, we are going to be rotating to Battle Styles on. I think that's pretty likely. I think it's almost guaranteed, to be fair. So what that means is we would keep Marnie in the format for an extra year. And this might be another part of the puzzle. It might be that they've moved a money card into a set to make it more appealing for collectors, or it might be that they're deliberately moving this Marnie over so that they can make it legal for another year. They don't have to. They could just reprint it as an alternate art. They absolutely could. But one, I think, pretty strong theory is that this is a deliberate move for the players, because at the moment, right, when you're playing Pokemon, your two main supporter cards are Marnie and Professor's Research. Well, we know the Professor's Research just got a reprint in Shining Fates. Now, for what it's worth, the Shining Fates reprint has the same regulation mark D, so it will be rotating as the same point as Magnolia. The point I'm making is they've already reprinted it once. It really does look like Professor's Research is going to keep being printed and going to survive more rotations. So if that's going to keep happening, keeping Marnie in the format for next year as well, essentially allowing us to keep both of the two main supporter cards that are keeping decks ticking over. Tell me that doesn't make a bunch of sense, ladies and gentlemen, because I think it makes a huge amount of sense. So the too long didn't read version of Marnie is missing from Shining Fates. We don't exactly know why. It could be in its own box later, but I find that unlikely because we don't have enough to do a big collection, and in a box on its own, it wouldn't be as appealing to the core market. It's likely, as far as I'm concerned, far from guaranteed, to be put into a future set, and there is a chance that this will end up making it legal for an extra year, which is why it's a big deal. Marnie being delayed and coming out later isn't a particularly big deal, but the fact that it might end up making Marnie legal for an extra year, yeah, I'm willing to say it, that is actually a pretty big deal. But I want to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know what you think in terms of how we're getting this, whether Pokemon would reprint it in a way that would extend the legality, or whether it is going to come in its own box. I want to know what your opinions are, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.